Hey guys, in this video I want to give a gift for you. I want to compile everything I know about objection handling in today's video, and I hope this video will truly help you understand how to deal with objections. I know many of you are struggling with objection handling. I hope this video can help you in your journey as a financial advisor. For new financial advisors, you will learn my objection handling process, and I hope at the end of this video, you will have a clearer understanding on how to handle objections. For experienced financial advisors, I hope this video will help you gain a greater clarity on how you should be dealing with objections and rejections. Remember, objections are a part and parcel of being a financial advisor. Learn to deal with it because every objection will only make you stronger. I still remember when I first started out in this business, I was truly stuck with objection handling. I've spent thousands of dollars to learn many objection handling strategies like objection blocking, skipping objection, NLP, and so on. But I found none of them to be super effective for financial advisors. That is why I came up with my own strategy and I want to share it with you. If you find this video useful, please share it with your team and other advisors around you so together we can make financial planning happier for everyone. Feeling excited? Let's get started. Now, before we move on, I just want to give you a quick introduction of myself. My name is Dr. Sanjay Tolani, and I'm also the family leader of Sanjay Mentoring Family, which helps financial advisors like yourself to become successful financial planners. Having been in the industry for 18 years, I have a unique view of what works and what doesn't in the financial planning world. And it is my hope that I can pass this experience to new generation of future financial advisors so that they don't have to go through the same struggles as I have. Hey guys, in today's video I want to show you an objection handling technique that I've been using for decades, and I call it the universal objection circle. Regardless of which prospect you speak to, sales objections is unavoidable in every sales process. We can either choose to give up on the deal or we can push further by tackling the crux of the issue. More often than not, financial advisors often neglect the importance of this objection handling process and end up losing the deal. One of the most important things we're going to discuss is understanding what I call UOC, which is Universal Objection Circle. The Universal Objection Circle is primarily broken into four parts. Now, the four parts are, first of all, you got to acknowledge. It's making sure that you first acknowledge that there is an objection. You see, a lot of clients get upset when we don't understand where they are coming from. So it's about saying the words, I actually understand where you're coming from, and acknowledge that there is an objection. Learn to understand from their perspective and acknowledge what they are saying. Then is ask. The next step that is very important is asking the right questions. Now, when you ask these questions are either to address a particular fear or to address a particular concern. This helps to plant the seeds of doubt to get the customer worried about that situation. The next would be solution and example. Once you have asked the right questions, the most important step after that is providing a solution with an example. If you don't provide an example, most commonly an analogy, people may not be able to understand what you're trying to say. So break it down into something very simple and relatable to them, and that is very, very important. The next step is to make it relatable. Now, the fourth and the most important step is making sure that this example is relatable. Can they relate to the example on an everyday basis? Example, if I'm talking to a client and they don't understand or relate to that example that I have provided, that objection continues to remain. So if you do not have an example that they can relate to, you will never be able to get over that objection. Let me show you some examples on how we apply the universal objection circle. Hey guys, in this video I want to make sure that I recover what is the universal objection circle, because what I've realized is a lot of you have not been able to understand how this works. When you're sitting with a client, you need to first acknowledge the way they have asked you an objection. If they tell you an objection, first of all, learn to understand from their perspective. A lot of clients keep complaining that we don't understand their perspective. So you need to acknowledge how and what they are saying. For example, something as simple as, I'm glad to know that this is of concern to you, or I'm glad to know that this is the strategy you think of, or you know what, I understand where you're coming from. It allows them to feel that you have acknowledged them. The next thing is making sure you ask the right question, because if you don't ask the right question, you will not get the response that you require. The third most important thing is making sure you provide a solution or an example that they can actually refer back to, an example of somebody else doing what you have just told them to do. That example needs to then be relatable, because if they cannot relate back to that example, they will not take the call of action that you expect them to. So you got to make sure that the example that you're giving them, they can relate to. So that relatable example or that relatable question will allow them to make that decision. That's the universal objection circle. Fantastic. What's your second question?
Okay, second question is for income protection. Yeah. So let's say the objection is, I'm well covered by my company.
Fantastic. I'm so glad that your company loves you so much. However, let me ask you a question. Are you married to your company? You see, what has happened is, if you fall sick, you might lose your job. And when you lose your job, you might lose your coverage. And if you lose your coverage, you cannot buy one at that point of time. So I always recommend, don't be dependent on a third party like a company or a government. You need to learn to be self-protected. So whatever your company has done, that is an additional coverage. That is not your primary coverage, because you're not married to your company. And especially in today's generation, you know how companies come and go, recessions, they just fire people. Overnight, you could lose your coverage. Why do you want to be left dry when it's raining outside? Yeah? So just make sure your primary coverage is your personal coverage. Whatever the company gives you is an additional coverage. This is on page number 37 in the objection playbook. It's the most common objection that I get, because most of my clients are CEOs, CFOs of big big companies, where they get free medical card and they get free income protection and they get all these free stuff. And I tell them only one thing: today you're CEO, tomorrow you're not, then what?
I am the owner of the company.
Fantastic.
So I will not fire myself.
So, correct. If you're the owner, do you want that company be burdened by your losses? So why not always have an asset that's outside the company so that your company continues to run? You see, this is income replacement for the company. We need to replace you. You are the owner. Who can replace you? Nobody. So at least 5 years of income, the company doesn't have to pay you. They can reinvest back into their business, and I will pay the income to your family. So let's let the company grow itself even when you're not there.
Thank you.
Does that answer?
Yes.
In our business, one of the most difficult things to do is handle objections. And every single client of ours, what's the first thing they tell us when you tell them, I am from insurance, I don't need it? Not you again. It's the best thing that happened, right? So when I joined this business, the one thing that I hated most was getting rejected. How many of you hate getting rejected? Be honest. There's no client. All of us. All right. So when majority of us hate getting rejected, how do we make the clients reject us less? That's the next question, right? Most people don't join this business. No one says, I want to grow up and become an insurance agent, correct? How many of you had the dream that you want to become an insurance agent? Yeah, I thought so. You see, that's the problem with our profession. No child ever grows up saying, I want to grow up and become an insurance agent. Nor did I. My father forced me into it. I'm born in a family of insurance agents. My grandfather is an insurance agent. My father's an insurance agent. I didn't have a choice. You see, I love it when you're born in an insurance agent's house. Because when you're born in a doctor's house, the pressure is you grow up, you become doctor. You grow up, you become doctor. When you're born in an engineer's house, everyone engineer, you grow up, you become engineer. You grow up, you become engineer. You're born insurance agent's house. My child, follow your dream. Follow your passion. True or not? But in my family, it's the other way around. You're born in my family, you grow up, you become insurance agent. So I didn't have much of a choice. Now, one of the other things that's very important in our business is building your reputation as an individual. A lot of us hide behind the name of our company. So we will introduce ourselves as, "Hi, I'm Sanjay Tolani from XYZ company." Now, each one of you needs to understand something very important. Each one of you is not an agent. Each one of you is a partner in that company. Each one of you is representing a brand. For example, if I have owned a McDonald's or a Starbucks coffee shop, right? Am I an agent of McDonald's? Because technically I don't own McDonald's, correct? I own the McDonald's franchise. I have a Starbucks franchise. I have a Wendy's franchise. It's a franchise, correct? Each one of you is the franchise owner of your insurance company. So why do you call yourself an agent? Why don't you call yourself as a business owner? That's one of the differences in the way you position yourself. And that positioning affects your meeting. Your patients, when a doctor is treating in a hospital, you choose the doctor, not the hospital. Think about it. Most of us, we always choose the doctor, not the hospital. And when you're hiding behind the brand of your hospital, you're trying to say, "I don't have the skill set to be a good doctor." When I joined this business, I had one other issue. I was too young. So I'll give you an example. I was 19 and I was sitting with a client who was about 50 years old. Fantastic guy. He said, "Sanjay, I loved your product. I love your presentation. I love the company you work with, but I don't want to work with you." Huh? You like my company, you like my presentation, you like my product, you like everything, then why don't you want to work with me? He's like, "Sanjay, you're so young. You're only 19. You have no wife, no children. You don't understand the problems." I said, "Mr. Client, agreed. So who would you like as your financial advisor?" He said, "Sanjay, I want someone who's my age, who's had life experience, who has a family, understands the difficulties of having a family." I said, "Fantastic, I understand. You're 50 years old. Now let's say we're talking about your retirement plan. By the time your plan matures, you're roughly about 80. Where do you think is your financial advisor?" Probably dead. You see, I'm 19 today. 30 years from now, I will be your age. I will be as strong as you are. I will be as experienced as you are, and I will still be in the business. That's why you should always buy insurance from someone younger than you. And that's why you should work with me. But there's a problem. I'm not 19 anymore. I have clients who are younger than me. So I had a client, he watched one of my videos and said, "Sanjay, in your video you said buy insurance from someone younger than you. Why should I buy insurance from you? You're older than me." So I told him, I said, "Tell me something. If you have a heart attack, do you want a college student or an experienced doctor to take care of you? So shut up and buy." So the answer will change. It's all about understanding how do you position yourself. And the way you position yourself depends on how you handle objections. You see, these are objections. Your clients giving you excuses on why they don't want to work with you, why they don't need your product, why they don't feel insurance is urgent. How many of you feel your clients don't feel urgency buying insurance? All of us. Fantastic. Now tell me something. All of us keeping this in mind. If your client doesn't buy insurance this year, he buys next year, what will happen?
the premium will increase, correct? Will you earn more commission? Then why are you in a hurry? Why are you in a hurry? You will earn more money. If your client doesn't feel the urgency, why are you in a hurry? The reason, I'll tell you why you are in a hurry. If this client doesn't buy, this month no commission. It is what we call lack of activity. You know, someone asked me yesterday, Sanjay, what's the secret to your success? And I said, I'm going to share the secret only on one condition. You don't tell anyone else. And he said, what is that? And I said, the secret to my success is activity. He said, we all know that. I said, there is no secret. Our business is probably the simplest business in the world. Activity, 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 activity. Don't forget that. If you don't meet people, no one's going to come to you and say, I want to buy insurance. No one. That's the reality. You have to meet people. So might as well leave the questions for the end. Let's get the process first. Step number 1, presentation. All of you remember my presentations yesterday? Fantastic. If you don't remember them, it's very simple. Send me a message on Facebook. I will send you the videos. Number 2, the second step in our process is objection handling. Now, to handle objections, there is a process. It is not a question and answer. Objection handling is a process, and the simple process is what I call the UOC, the Universal Objection Circle. All the objections you ever get can be handled using this strategy. All right? And the strategy is very simple. A, which is acknowledge. Q, ask the right question. SE, which is solution or example. Give them a solution or an example. And R, make it relatable to them. So, let's handle some objections, all right? Can anyone share any objection from the front of the audience? Shout it out. I have no money. Fantastic. How many of you have heard that? I have no money. Okay, fantastic. Mr. Client, I'm so glad you told me you have no money. But let me ask you a question. Did you know that if you die today, we have a bigger problem? Because if you don't have the few dollars to pay for insurance, you can't afford to die. So why don't I give you a simple solution? I'm going to put the insurance policy active today. And I'm going to put it on your credit card. So you've got 30 days to figure it out. Do you have any questions? No? Sign here. What will be the potential next question? I need to ask my wife. Correct? That's the usual one. I'm so glad you want to include your wife in this conversation. Always acknowledge first. Never disagree with your client. Always agree with your client first. I'm so glad you told me you want to include your wife in this. But let me ask you a question. Do you think your wife will say, no darling, don't protect me? No wife will ever say that. Don't protect me, don't protect the kids, it's not important. No wife will ever say that. No reasonable wife will ever say that. So why don't I do one thing for you? Let me start the paperwork and make sure that you're covered, and I will give you free insurance for 14 days or 21 days, depending on the free look period that you have in your country. I'll give you 14 to 21 days to make a decision. Do you have any other questions? No? Sign here. Any objection you get, any other objections you get, guys, throw it out. I will use exactly the same structure. Sorry? I'm too old. Mr. Client, I'm so glad you told me you're too old. But let me ask you a question. If my insurance company agrees to give you insurance, would you take it? Yes or no? Yes? Fantastic. You see, age is one of the biggest criteria in our business. However, the underwriter makes that decision. So why don't I actually process it to see if we can even get it? Would you like that? Fantastic, sign here. I will still process an application. Who am I to judge whether the insurance company is willing to take the risk or not? If the insurance company is willing to take the risk, give him the cover or give her the cover, it doesn't matter. I had another client, this was a very interesting one. So this is an objection that I've got very recently. It's not a very common objection that you might be getting, but get ready. Imagine you do an educational planning presentation for your client and the objection you get is, Sanjay, I believe in the future, education will be free. How many of you have heard that? Very few of you. Can I have lights on the audience, please? This was a very interesting objection for me because usually it's the other way around. Right, Sanjay, yes, I know it'll go increase, but let me think about it. This was the first time a client told me, Sanjay, I believe in the future, education will be free. So, first of all, acknowledge it. Mr. Client, I actually agree with you. I also believe in the future, education will be free. But let me ask you a question. What if both of us are wrong and education becomes more expensive? Should the children go to college or not? They should, right? You see, if education is free, whatever money you have saved is for you. If education is expensive, thank God we have saved some money. Do you have any other questions? Sign here. It's one of the most important things that we understand. The objection handling cycle does not change. It's the same process, every objection. Any objection you think of, the process is exactly the same. First of all, acknowledge it. Asking the right question. Now, a lot of people call me the objection guru. And the reason is, I have 6,000 clients today. And I've heard every single objection you can think of. I just keep getting it. And every time I got an objection and I was not able to handle it, I would always plan how to handle it better next time. Because that's the most important thing in our process, learning how to make it better. So I realized there's a process that I follow with almost every objection, and that's what we wrote down. Acknowledge the objection first. Ask them a right question. Asking the right question is key in this business. If you ask the wrong questions, you will get the wrong answers. So you have to learn to ask the right questions. And then step number 3 is giving them a solution or an example that they can relate to. If they cannot relate to it, the objection will still be there.
Hey guys, the book is finally out. Now, if you're already part of the mentoring family, you've already got access to it. If you're not part of the mentoring family, it's time to join. I've recorded my entire experience into this book. So all the things that I've been doing over the last 18 years in this business, I've recorded into this book. I've started all the way from my journey. So literally from my first day into the business, they've asked me, Sanjay, who you are, what you've been doing. I've recorded all of that. The other more important things that I've recorded is I've recorded the 37 most questions asked by you. You see, I've been receiving a lot of questions from all my mentees, and those mentees ask me to answer those questions for them. These are objections that they get every day in the business. So I've made sure that all those questions are answered in this. By the way, words that we use in a meeting affect how the conversation will go on with the client. Now, if you understand that conversations are affected by the words you use, I've tried to document the words that I use. Now, I've also left space in the book for you to be able to write the words that you would like to use. So, if you are a person who is trying to find out what's the way to handle objections, you've got some space for you to write your stuff. Never before have I ever shared something called the Universal Objections Circle. Now, everyone has been asking me, Sanjay, is there a way around it? I've actually documented that for the first time ever. So this has never been done before. This is there in the book now. The purpose of this book is to get you to the next level. This book is supposed to assist you to get to the next level. That's what this book is for. Use it for exactly those reasons. Read it for exactly those reasons. Share it with your team. Because if your team can allow you and you work together to grow to the next level, that's the best thing to do. You see, we're not looking at making one person to the top. We're trying to get everyone at the top. Now, if you want to get to the top, you got to work together as a team. Use the book for that. So share it, use it, like it. And if you want more, join the family. We will keep sharing as much as we can. Thank you very much.
A question that's often asked is, Sanjay, how do I handle rejections? A lot of my clients are rejecting me. We need to understand something very important. Rejections are a part of life. And the reason why people reject, it doesn't necessarily have to be something to do with you. The rejection primarily would be due to your product. It could be because of the industry we are in. It could be because of your company. Or it could be because your presentation wasn't good enough. So, if I was you, don't get damped down by rejection. What you should understand is, what's the purpose of that rejection? Why did the client reject you? Was it because of your presentation not being clear enough? Your presentation not being strong enough? Was it because the company you're working for? If it was your company, that's an objection. You can handle that. And I can teach you how to handle objections using the universal objection circle. If the reason for the rejection was your product, again, your product is not a reason for rejection for a very simple reason. Every product is unique. Every single investment, every single asset is unique by itself. So it's definitely not your product, because anyways, all insurance companies have very similar products. They're very competitive in today's time. So what could be the cause of rejection? It usually boils down to, was my presentation good enough? Was I able to build trust through the presentation that I did? So if you do want to reduce your rejection rate, focus on yourself, build yourself up, and learn to be able to give valued advice to your clients. The value of your advice is what takes you to the next level. And if you could focus on that, it would allow you to reduce your rejection rate.
Hey guys, how are you? Just give me a second. I'm just setting up a few things so I can get things just a little started. Now today we are going to be talking about objection handling. So that's what we're going to spend time doing today, is talking about objection handling and how we're going to take care of our clients going forward, especially this year. It's going to be a very interesting year in terms of what changes will come in our profession. For those of you who have been to an objection handling session of mine before, I would love you to just say, I have been, so I know that you've been to my session before. If you haven't been to my session, just type me, so I know that you haven't been to a session. Alright, give me a few seconds and I will get things a little started. Alright, so when it comes to objection handling, I want to get one thing very clear, right? It is the third segment of the sales process. So it always starts with prospecting. How are you going to get your clients? Once you have managed to do your prospecting correctly, your next step is doing the right presentation. Now, when your choice of presentation is correct, the way you handle objections become easier. So let's get one thing very clear. The usual reason why objections come up is because your presentation is not clear. If your presentation is not clear, then one of the ways to handle that is use another presentation during the objection handling process. A lot of people don't realize that you could be doing multiple presentations to get a problem clear or solved. When we do objection handling, if our industry gets this correct, we have a higher closing ratio. The way you handle objections will affect your closing ratio. So guys, understand what the purpose is, right? Objection handling is a process, and if you haven't watched my video that I put up on the Facebook group, I want you to spend some time after this live event to watch that video. My team has already put up one of my videos that talks about the universal objection circle. So, alright, so if you have the objection playbook with you,
It's on page number 51, where I talk about the universal objection circle. Now, the universal objection circle is a very important part in terms of the process that I follow with objection handling. Why? It starts with, instead of challenging your client, it starts with acknowledging that your client has an objection, right? So it always starts with acknowledging it. When we're talking about acknowledging, a lot of our clients feel that we don't really care about their perspective. Please understand your client's perspective. Spend some time to figure out what are they trying to say. Now, while I'm doing today's live, I would like to handle objections that you have. So if you do have objections, please put them in the comments so I can handle those objections for you live today itself. So today's session is for you. And as we go through today's session, I want you to spend some time to tell me where you get objections, what objections you get, so I can handle them real time so we're not guessing, right? Spend some time to give me your objections that you have. Now, if you have friends who have not joined this group and you think they should be watching this live session, add them to the group. I'll have my team immediately accept them into the group so they can start watching this live video. I will not be keeping this live video for many days, so I will probably keep it for another 2 to 3 days. And the reason for that is I want you all to be practicing what I teach rather than trying to copy what I do. There's a very big difference between having your own strategy and using my strategy. So I want you to learn to build your own. Objection handling is a process. Once you get the process, you should be employing your own choice of words. Today, a lot of you are using my choice of words. I want you to have a natural choice of words from your side, and that only comes with practice. Have I always had the right words to say? The answer is no. Over a period of many years, I've been able to build the right words that I use for my personality style. And each one of you will have a different personality from mine. Now, this personality choice that you have, you will only be able to use it once you start practicing what you learn. So it's about a lot of practice, right? Now, so when it comes to acknowledgement, right? So the UOC starts with acknowledge. It goes on to asking the right question, providing a solution or an example, and then making it relatable. So that's the UOC, the Universal Objection Circle. Now let's start with acknowledging. Some of the choice of words that I use when we're talking about acknowledging is, I would use words like, I agree with you, or I understand what you're talking about. You could even use words like, you know what, I've done that before as well. So when someone says, for example, I need to ask my wife, right? There's nothing wrong with that. They actually should be getting their family involved when it comes to long-term financial decisions. So what's wrong with that? First of all, acknowledge it. I'm so glad you want your wife to be a part of this process. I'm so glad you want your husband to be a part of this process. They might say father, they might say father-in-law, they might say mother, mother-in-law. It doesn't matter. If they are involving their wife, husband, family members into the decision-making process, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's get that very clear. When you have a family member joining the meeting, it actually creates an opportunity for you to sell even more. Remember one thing, who's the real client? So think about it. Let's say the man buys life insurance, right? Who is the beneficiary? The wife. When the wife is the beneficiary, who is the one who actually gets the benefit? It's always about cost and benefit, right? So when you're looking at an insurance product, they will always say cost or benefit. Now, when you say cost and benefit, one of the strategies is understanding who's going to get that benefit. Family is the one that gets the maximum benefit when they buy an insurance product. It is not the person himself. So for example, let's say I buy life insurance. I actually don't get any benefit from it except my family is protected. So the real beneficiaries are your true clients. If they want the beneficiaries to be part of the sales process, what do you have to lose? Instead, you can potentially sell a little bit more. You can potentially actually upsell in that meeting, because I would ask the wife, if something did happen to your husband, do you want to be protected? And I don't know any rational mother who would be not be worried about that, right? So it's about getting the right decision makers in there, and the real beneficiaries are your clients. A lot of people don't realize that. So when they say, I think you should buy insurance, it's actually not you should buy insurance, it's you should buy insurance for your family. you should buy insurance for your children. Doesn't mean that the children are insured. It means the person who's supposed to happen something, the breadwinner, the children are protected. So get that very correct, right? The other part about acknowledgement is understanding that everyone has their opinion. You have to learn to respect people's opinion. If you don't respect other people's opinion, they will feel that you're selfish, you don't understand them. So the process of acknowledgement only basically says, I accept your opinion. So when you acknowledge, get that out of the way. Now, the next part is asking the right question. Why is that important? Let's get this very clear. Asking a question is not important. Asking the right question is important. If you ask a question that is pretty dumb, right? I have seen people handling objections, and one of my concerns that I feel that I should address today is that when they ask questions, they're asking questions that are not relevant to the objection. For example, I'll give you a very simple example. I want to ask my wife. So let's stick to the easy one, right? I want to ask my wife. Well, I understand you want to ask your wife and actually she should be part of this process, but let me ask you a question. Does your wife not believe in insurance? That question has no relevance to this whole objection, right? Or asking a question that like, do you think your wife will say no? First put it in the right context, right? So I would say something like, well, every wife that I have met has always said that they want to make sure that their husbands are protected because the family is dependent on the husband. So every wife that I have spoken to has always told me that they would prefer their husbands to be protected. So I don't think any rational wife would say no. Very different story. It's about how you position and your choice of words. And that's why I said this only comes with practice. When you give me an objection, because of the practice that I've had, the number of clients I meet, the number of presentations I do on a daily basis, it allows me to practice the product, the presentation, the objections, and even closing strategies. Closing strategies are based purely on the way you handle objections. So if you handle objections very well, closing becomes easier. Let's be very clear about that. Objection handling is what we call a midway process. When you get an objection, you either go back towards a presentation or you go towards closing. So that's pretty much what happens. When someone gives you an objection, it will either lead to a close or it will lead to a presentation back. And that's why it's what we call the middle point. Once you get there, you either go back to giving another presentation, a small presentation, long presentation, depending on how complicated the objection is. I'll give you another very technical objection, right? A very technical objection that you get is, I believe the returns of an insurance policy or the returns of an annuity or returns of a saving plan are too low. And that's an objection. I'm sure, do you get objections like that? If yes, write I, so I know that you get an objection like that, because so that I know that I'm not the only one who gets these objections. Comments. So when I get objections, like, Sanjay, I don't believe the returns in the insurance product are as high as that of other investments. When you get an objection like that, great. The reason why I'm looking at the comments you're giving so that it's easy for me to kind of reply back to you. Do invite your friends who you think should be part of watching this video, because it's about us sharing as a group, right? We as financial advisors should be aware about these skills that are required to be able to give good advice, get our message across. It's not that we don't sell the right product. The problem is a lot of us are not able to express in the right mannerism on how clients should behave with their money. A lot of our clients are aggressive in what they do best. So for example, they might be IT professionals. They're very good at what they do. But when it comes to their insurance, it is not their priority. Can we get that clear, right? I'm sure you've all experienced that insurance is not the priority for your clients. How many of you feel insurance is not the priority? Can you just write, I do, so I get an idea. I'm just going through the comments so it's easy for me to see what are the messages that you have sent. Great. All right. I'm just going through all the comments so that I know that what are the questions that are coming up. Now, there was a question that has happened is, so Rodney has asked a very interesting question. Let me look over this first and I will call you. It's a very common objection. How many of you get this objection? Let me look over this first and I will call you. Can you just say me so I understand it's you as well? Thanks. I don't want to be touching my face. I know, guys, the virus is spreading really fast, so we got to be all careful of how it goes. So I'm trying to avoid touching my face. But I have this very bad habit of touching my face, so I am trying quite hard on that one. All right. So coming back to the questions, right? Great. All right. So when a client tells you that, let me look over this first, one of the strategies or one of the ways to handle that is you first of all acknowledge it. Say, I'm sure you want to look over it. Not only that, give them the option that they should be sharing this with their family, who are the real beneficiaries. So I would actually tell them, I would recommend you have a conversation with family, not just you look over it. What I will do is, as a part of my service to you, is I will actually start the paperwork. The paperwork is purely a process that takes time because I don't know if this is the correct rate. Whatever I've shared with you is only applicable once the underwriters have agreed to it. So why don't I start the paperwork? It'll take me time. You take your time and you've got free coverage in the process. So look over it, speak to whoever you want. It's not about being pushy. It's about giving them the opportunity to look over what they are doing. Everyone has the right to that. And getting them to start the process anyways takes time. So give them time to start the process. That's all right. I'm retiring soon and I don't want to commit to any more expenses. Cynthia, when a client is retiring very soon, one of the best ways to handle this is to give them single premium products, right? There's nothing wrong in doing a single premium product. It's not necessary that you have to do a regular premium product. You see, that's one of the other problems that we have is when someone says, I'm retiring soon and I don't want to commit to any more expenses, well, Mr. Client, I'm glad you don't want to commit to any more expenses. We can do this as a one-off. That's your opportunity. So you've got a couple of options. Number one is you can do it as a one-off. You can pay it over a shorter span of time, like maybe 1 or 2 years. You can do it over 5 years, 10 years. So you have both opportunities or all opportunities because the requirement hasn't changed. Now, when you get something like this, it also means they've probably not understood the value of the product or the value of the advice you've given. Relook at your presentation. So don't get scared about that. Relook at your presentation. I'm also getting an objection that the returns are low. Okay, I'm going to talk about this. It's very important for us when we talk about returns, right? So what are the return? Which asset gives me the highest return? Equities. Some will say commodities like gold. Some will say Bitcoin. Some will say bonds. Everyone has a different way to get returns, but each asset class that you have will give you a different set of returns, and those different set of returns will affect your portfolio. This is one asset in your portfolio. So insurance cannot be compared to other products. I mean, you can't compare equities to bonds, you can't compare bonds to gold, you can't compare gold to fixed deposits. They're all different assets. So when you're comparing returns, you have to also compare the risk. Fixed deposits come with a certain asset. It's an asset that's guaranteed in capital, gives you a fixed rate of interest. You can't compare that to an equity, for example. So when you compare returns, you have to compare apple to apple. You're comparing apples to oranges. But by the way, the best way to have a balanced portfolio is to have all the assets in it. It's like when you want to have a fruit salad, you can't only put banana in the fruit salad, right? You have to put some banana, some apples, some pears, some oranges. And this is one more fruit in the fruit salad. And this fruit is what actually gives you the guarantees that the other fruits don't provide. Rofel has given a very nice objection. I've been rejected from another insurance company, took a lot of work of medicals and financial support. I don't want to go through that same process again. Wow, Mr. Client, I actually understand that whole process is a very tough process. You see, insurance companies don't like to take risk that they don't understand. So even before I take you through that whole process, what I will do is I will go through that process alone. Give me the work that you had submitted last time and let me speak to my underwriters to see if you are even eligible at my company. So you're absolutely correct. There's no point in you going through the same work twice. Whatever you did the last time, give that to me. I'll check with my underwriters if they're interested in taking you as a case. If they are not interested, well, you're rejected anyways, right? And that's how you would handle that objection. Guys, if you have any friends who should be watching this video, share it with them. Call them into the group so it's easy for them to watch this video, right? Sarah has asked a very interesting question. Why would I want to put my money in an annuity only to take back my money on a monthly basis after years later? Alright, the whole purpose of an annuity is to build a guaranteed flow of income. So whatever money you put into an annuity, it gives you a guaranteed flow of income. There are two ways to look at it. Number one is, do you want to drip your money down? So let's say I put all that money into a bank account and I start withdrawing that money over a period of time. That's one opportunity. The second is, if you don't know how long you will live, you will not know how much to withdraw every year. With an annuity, I can guarantee the monthly withdrawal for you forever. Not only that, it goes on forever because I don't know how long you live. Maybe 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. We don't know how long you will live. We are only living longer. So let's say I have $1 million as an example. And I say, okay, I will withdraw 5% of that $1 million every year. How long will that last you? It lasts you for a total of 20 years. And after 20 years, we have run out of capital. With an annuity, when you're taking a withdrawal out, it lasts forever. And that is the advantage of using an annuity. That is again about your presentation. You see, it's not really an objection. It only means your presentation did not make them understand the purpose of buying an annuity. So you need to go back to presentation rather than be worried about the objection. I got this objection just today before I go for a follow-up meeting. How should I handle this? Hi, thanks for the information. I have discussed with my wife and our conclusion is that we have sufficient coverage at this moment and we do not need to consider another financial protection. We will review our financial situation periodically and if we need any assistance, we will definitely contact you. Okay, so when someone tells you, we have had a discussion internally, this is a decision we don't want to make, move on. There are two ways to handle it. You can either give them my book and tell them, here's the rule of thumb. So give them, okay, you know what, I've just realized, I think I need to write a book just for you all to be able to use whenever a client gives you an objection like that, because you can just give them that book and say, you know what, you can do it yourself. Here is a book that does do it yourself. Actually, you can use my 28,000 book. In the 28,000 book, I have actually written down how to do it yourself. When a client gives you an objection like that, there's no point in you challenging it or even rather acknowledge it. Tell them, Mr. Client, I absolutely understand that you guys have made that decision. Why don't I do one thing? I'll give you a book that is a DIY book. Guys, I have written a book specifically for this because I realized it's not just you, even my clients have the same question. So what I've done is I've written this book called the Financial Planning Playbook. The Financial Planning book has not yet launched because I've just written it. And I wrote it for everyone to find it easy to give it to their clients. All I have covered in this book is the rule of thumb. Because this is a very common objection that I've been receiving from my mentees as well. And I realized, you know what? Why don't I just give that book to all your clients? It makes life easy. So what I'm going to do today is, the person who just asked me this objection, I'm going to give this book to you for free. I'm going to get this sent to you as soon as it's ready. We have just got it. Let me note this down so I know who it is. All right, Quay. So I'm going to get this book sent to you. I've discussed this with my wife. Give it to them. This is a DIY, do-it-yourself book. So that makes life easy for all your clients. For those of you who have my 28,000 book, you can even use that because I have written the formulas in that book on how to manage money. Okay, I have a client, very detailed person. She would read through the whole quotation proposal, her husband's new policy, and she asks question by question. And yet, to make decision, I lose as not sure what else to do. All right, Dennis, it is your client's choice to go through the terms and conditions and read word for word. I have a client like that. So the truth is, I have a client who is exactly like that. She went word by word. They actually call her the vampire because there are a lot of financial advisors who have tried to work with her in the past, and every financial advisor has been shot down. So when I met with her for the first time, I said, Auntie, by the way, she's a significantly older lady. I said, Auntie, let me get one thing very clear. You have the right to ask me any questions about my product. If there is any question about my product that I cannot answer, you have the right to tell me, Sanjay, I don't want to work with you. But if I answer all your questions, then you will follow my advice. Is that okay? You see, I've set expectations, guys. This is not an objection. This only means you're supposed to know your product. If she goes through your products and she knows more about your products, then there's something wrong. Can you imagine you go to a doctor where you know more about the medicine than the doctor himself? How would you feel? You would not trust that doctor, correct or not? So before you get scared about questions, learn to study your products. Guys, that is basic necessity. I expect you to know your products in and out. You can't be expecting your clients to not ask you questions. They have the absolute right to ask every question that they have from the proposal. And there is no question that is stupid. You should be able to answer every single question.
Another question that usually gets asked is not actually an objection, but it's a question that gets asked is, Sanjay, how do I know the insurance company won't go bankrupt? You see, a lot of financial institutions keep going bankrupt. What if your insurance company goes bankrupt? The good news, a lot of countries protect insurance companies because they know that insurance as a product is a backup plan for everyone. When everything goes wrong, it's insurance that protects them. So insurance is a backup plan for everybody. A lot of countries protect the value of insurance companies to make sure they don't go bankrupt. That's one. Second, insurance companies usually buy reinsurance to protect themselves. You see, the risk gets transferred to another bigger player. We have something called the reinsurance market, which is a lot more bigger than the insurance market. And we reinsure a lot of that risk with other people. Certain countries have other regulations which allows you protection by the insurance companies buying each other out. So if an insurance company is going under, the other insurance companies would get together and support it to bring it out of that problem. Because we all know, what is the meaning of insurance? Insurance is a backup plan for the whole world. When everything goes wrong, who is there to take care of you? That is the purpose of insurance. And if that purpose is not fulfilled, the industry and this profession loses meaning. So governments, institutions all work together to ensure no insurance company goes bust. A very common objection would be, Sanjay, I don't like to take long-term commitments. I'm sure you've heard that, right? Well, Mr. Client, I understand where you're coming from, that you don't want to be committed for something that you're not sure where you will be. Yes, Sanjay, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. I don't know where I will be 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. Well, Mr. Client, let me tell you something that's very important. Your commitment to your family is forever. Your commitment to your parents, to your children, to your wife, to your spouse is forever. How long should you be committed to them when it comes from a financial perspective? The answer is also forever. Why are you scared of making a long-term commitment? We all don't know where we will be 20 years from now. And that's the reason why we have financial reviews every year. That's the reason why you and I got to work together to make sure that those commitments that you made can still be met. If there is a change that's required, we will make those changes. There's no harm in making a commitment to yourself. There's no harm in making a commitment to your future. There's no harm in making a commitment to the well-being of your family if you're not around. You see, that's my job. My job is to make sure that the commitments that you have made are fulfilled. All your dreams need to be protected because your dreams is the purpose of your life. That is the purpose of the life with your children, your family. Long-term commitments are important. And tell me one thing, what's the point? You have made long-term commitments in your life forever. This is not a long-term commitment to anybody else. You're making a long-term commitment to yourself. A lot of people don't realize that financial planning is a process for themselves. It is not a financial advisor's job to be a long-term commitment. Financial planning is a process, and every year, all those long-term commitments that you've made, we will review those long-term commitments to make sure they are welcome and relatable to you. An objection that again I'm sure is quite common for all of you is, Sanjay, my company already provides insurance for me and my family. Well, are you married to your family? What if you lost your job? Would you be able to get insurance again? Think about it. Mr. Client, I'm sure, acknowledge. You remember, we come back to the same word. We got to first acknowledge. Mr. Client, I'm so glad your company is a good company and they provide you the health coverage and the medical coverage and the life coverage to protect your family. However, we got to understand a few things. One, are you married to your company? You're probably not married to your company, right? If you do lose your job, what happens to your insurance? You see, I know of people who have fallen sick and they have not been able to work, and for which their companies would have told them, thank you very much for your services. Unfortunately, we can't keep you employed anymore. At the end of the day, these are profit-making institutions, and they might, well, there's a very high probability that you would lose your job in case you did fall sick and you're not able to complete your services to the company. At that point of time, you can't buy any more insurance. You see, it's very important to do independent personal financial planning, which is irrespective of government, company. For a very simple reason, how dependent do you want to be on a third party for your own personal finances? I want you to think about it. Another very common objection that I get is, Sanjay, I would rather hold cash right now. Mr. Client, I actually understand where you're coming from, that yeah, in case you have a certain emergency, you would want to be able to deploy that cash immediately. But let's put it this way, there's only a certain amount of cash that you should be holding. Now, if you follow the simple guidelines of financial planning, 3, 6, or 9 months of expenses are maximum amount of cash that a person should be holding. Anything more than that, your money is actually being wasted. Because you see, there's a concept called inflation. Inflation starts to eat into your cash because cash is not growing. What you need to do is make sure that cash is deployed to do something better. So when I'm talking about using the cash, I'm talking about the excessive cash in excess of 3, 6, 9 months of savings or expenses that need to be covered. Anything excess of that should be deployed towards an investment or making sure that your income is guaranteed. The most important thing in life is ensuring that your income is guaranteed, because if you don't have an income, you don't have any cash left. How long will that cash reserve that you have last? And that's a very important question to address. How long does your income last from the cash reserve that you have? So making sure you have income protection and making sure all your excessive cash is being used or deployed towards an investment that's growing faster than inflation. Because if we're not beating inflation, we are actually losing money on a daily basis. A simple concept that needs to be understood. Mr. Client, if you were running a business and if you notice that things are becoming more and more expensive, how would you handle that? You see, life only becomes more and more expensive. You need that income, and that income is the most important factor when it comes to making sure that the cash sustains for a longer period of time. Another very common objection that I get is, Sanjay, let me go back and do some research. Or, Sanjay, let me think about it. Well, Mr. Client, why don't I do something better for you? While you're doing your research and while you're thinking about it, why don't I process your application and get you free coverage for 3 weeks? You see, even after the policy is issued, you have a free look period. That free look period allows you to cancel and get back all your money. Mr. Client, while you are thinking about it and while you're doing research, if something did happen to you, I want to make sure that you're covered. I completely understand that you want to do some research, and that's the reason why I'm buying time for you and I'm giving you free insurance coverage while you do your research. That's my job. It's my job to make sure that you're protected even while you're thinking about it. So why don't I do that for you? And for that, you can take me out for dinner. And thank you, and at least say thank you for that, because I'm giving you something for free. Think about it. It's not only about clients doing you our clients doing you a favor buying insurance. It's not really true. You're equally doing enough for them to make sure that they are protected. Why do we not get enough acknowledgement to get that done? So find acknowledgement. Find your place in a client's life. Make sure your client understands what you're doing for them. Something as simple as, I'm giving you enough time to think about it. I'm sure you have also heard objections like these that, Sanjay, I'm not ready to commit right now, or I need to think about it, or I'm not ready for it. Well, Mr. Client, I'm actually in no hurry, because the longer you take, the more I make. You see, insurance premiums never go down. They only increase. I would actually tell you, take a year, take 2 years, take 3 years, take 5 years, take 10 years. It does not matter to me, because the longer you take, the more I will make. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay in this business for a very long period of time. The question is, how soon do you want to start your protection? How soon do you want to make sure that your family doesn't have to be dependent on anybody except you as a person? You are irreplaceable. Unfortunately, tomorrow is not guaranteed. Make sure you can buy it while you can, because the day you want it, you might not be able to buy it. You see, insurance is not purchased with money. Insurance is purchased with health. You pay with it. You pay for it with money. So your health is what decides whether you can buy it or not. So even when you say, I'm not ready to commit for it, you're not even sure whether you're insurable. That's another very important part that we have to cover. Make sure of two things. The longer you take, the more I make. Even if you don't work with me, you will work with somebody from my industry. You will work with somebody who's a colleague of mine. It does not matter. My profession will earn more money from you because of a decision that you choose to delay. So it's your choice. Make that decision. The sooner, the better. So I've been asked this many times, Sanjay, why don't I buy term and invest the difference? This is a very common objection that I get is, Sanjay, why not buy term, invest the difference? Now, I love it when people think about the concept theoretically. From a theoretical perspective, buying term, investing the difference should work. There's only one problem that I see with it, and the problem is the lack of discipline. Not everyone is disciplined enough to buy term and invest the difference. So you got to make sure your premiums are paid on time. You got to make sure that the investments are doing what they're supposed to do. So you got to be managing that risk. And what we have noticed is not every client is savvy enough to manage that. So first of all, the most important thing is you got to acknowledge that objection is, Mr. Client, I completely understand you got to buy term, invest the difference. But
it's important for us to understand what is the purpose of buying the insurance. Number one, term insurance is a fantastic product to cover short-term liabilities or even any form of liability. But when I'm doing planning for my family, the question that you have to answer is, how long is your commitment to your family? Usually it's whole life. You got to be with your family whole of life. The other problem with term insurance is if we miss any of our payments, the term insurance could lapse. With whole life insurance, you have a lot of other flexibilities that you don't have with term insurance. Investments. When I'm investing the difference, I don't want to be using that money to pay my term premiums, because if you think about it, when will I not be able to afford my term insurance? When things are really, really bad for me. And at that point, I would be wanting to take the money out of my investments to pay those risks. However, if things are bad for me, the probability that everything in the world is going wrong at that time is very high, which means your investments will probably not be doing as well as they should be, and you'll be selling your investments at the wrong time. So from that perspective, it's always good to buy a whole life product for family protection, and you can always increase it, or I would say supplement it with term insurance. So term insurance is a fantastic tool to supplement what is not enough. Good for liabilities, good for supplementing insurance, but you should always have a combination. Having a combination of term and whole life. Buying one is not as good as buying the other. They both have their own pros and cons, and once we understand that, it is very essential that that's what you do. So Mr. Client, the reason why I'm recommending you whole life is that's for your family's protection. Term insurance, a fantastic tool for supplementing.
Another very common comment, I wouldn't call it an objection, but it's a comment that I hear from clients is saying, didn't I just buy an insurance policy from you? Well, Mr. Client, you see, financial planning is a process. When I suggested a product to you, the question is, what's next? You have to make sure that you're upgrading your product based on your lifestyle. If nothing in your life has changed, your advice doesn't change. But if there's been a change in your life, for example, you just got married, you had children, you got a promotion, your lifestyle will adjust to those changes. Your insurance policy, your financial plan has to also adjust to make sure that they are updated according to your lifestyle. So it's not about how soon you update, it's about how frequent that we do a review. And every time we do a review, we check only for one thing. Has there been a lifestyle change that requires to be protected? It's as simple as that. I'm sure you have noticed this, that sometimes you're sitting with a client and you realize that they might need a different product from what you had initially recommended. So you might go to a client and you would give them a recommendation of a separate product. And one of the key objections that pops up over there is, why are you changing my product, Sanjay? Well, Mr. Client, you see, when I suggested a particular product to you, it suited you at that point of time. But now things have changed, your lifestyle has changed, your requirements have changed, and your protection requirements have changed. If there has been a change, you need to have another product that substitutes the changes. For example, I'm sure you've been to a doctor when you had a cold, cough, or flu. You went to a doctor, the doctor prescribed you some medicine, and he said, come back to me in 7 days and let's see if the medicine works. You go back in 7 days and let's say unfortunately the medicine hasn't worked. What would you say to the doctor? Doc, the medicine hasn't worked. What would the doctor do? He would recheck you and make sure that he gives you a stronger dose or gives you a product that might suit you. You see, it's exactly the same formula. When I gave you a suggestion, when I gave you an advice, it was based on certain facts that I knew. We test whether those facts have worked. If there has been a review, and when I do a review and I notice that it's not doing what it was expected to do, we might have to change your product. Don't get upset when I change your product, because by compliance, my regulation also protects you. You see, we would not recommend a change unless necessary. When you're working with a professional financial advisor, it's not about the product, it's about the advice that the client is expecting you to give. Follow professional financial planning advice. Follow strong ethical standards. When you are giving a recommendation, ensure that you have documented why you are recommending a product change. So I have a lot of high net worth clients who would tell me, Sanjay, I don't need to buy something like medical insurance or income protection insurance because I have enough money that I can afford to pay off any medical costs. Well, Mr. Client, I actually understand that you're rich enough to even probably be able to buy a hospital. But is that the purpose of insurance? You see, the money that you have today, the assets that you have today, do you want to lose those assets because of a health bill or because of a hospital bill? You don't want to be spending money behind something you actually don't need. That's money that you have kept for yourself. That's money that you could be building an asset with. That's money that you could be running a business with. Why don't you just pay a few pennies on the dollar and get a big insurance policy? That insurance policy will take care of all those medical bills, will make sure that you have that income that's supposed to come in irrespective of whether you're working or not. You see, I'm not just protecting your health, I'm also protecting your wealth, because I don't want the wealth to get depleted to cover the cost of health. And we all know that the cost of health is increasing. We have seen families, and I have seen people who have stayed in hospital for many, many years. And those hospital bills rack up. And when they do rack up, the question then becomes, should the family start selling assets to cover those costs? Because when you bought those assets, what was the purpose of buying it? If the purpose of buying those assets was to sell them, when you have these costs, why did you buy them in the first place? Because assets are always illiquid. It's very difficult to find buyers when you know it's time of need. We all know that. When I go to sell something, it's not that easy, but when I go to buy, it's not easy either. And that's the problem. The timing is always wrong. And we know Murphy's Law. When something has to go wrong, it will go wrong. So why not protect what I can? A very common objection that I get is, Sanjay, how do I know the insurance company will pay my claim? Well, Mr. Client, let me explain something to you. I actually understand your concern, because if a claim is not paid out, what's the purpose of having that insurance? Insurance is a waste of money till you actually need it. So I understand your concern. Do you drive a car? Or have you sat in a car? You see, there's an airbag inside your car. When was the last time you tested that airbag? Well, if you want to test it, the simplest thing is go hit the wall and we'll check if the airbag works. You see, Mr. Client, insurance is just like a car airbag. When you hit the wall, the airbag protects you from getting hurt. Would you drive a car without an airbag or with an airbag? Obviously, your answer would be to drive with an airbag. But did you know there are two reasons why an airbag wouldn't function? One, you did not maintain your car on time. So every 6 months, you got to maintain your car. And if you don't maintain your car, there's a potential chance that the airbag might not be functioning. It's the same with insurance. If you don't pay your premiums on time, there's a chance that your policy will lapse. So make sure that you don't miss out on your premiums. Make sure that the commitment that you have made is fulfilled, to make sure that the commitment that will come from the other side is also fulfilled. The other reason why the airbag will not work is you did not have the right size airbag in your car. So when you're driving, there's a certain amount of distance between the steering wheel and yourself when you're driving the car. If that distance is too little or it's too far, the airbag might not work. If it's too close, it could choke you. If it's too far, the impact was quicker than the airbag could deploy. So you have to make sure you have the right size of insurance. It's the same with an airbag. If you don't have the right distance between the steering wheel and your body, the airbag will not work. It's the same with insurance. If you have too little insurance, it doesn't work. If you have too much insurance, which I've never seen happen, it might be you're overspending money, which means you will always have a budgeting problem in the future. So we need to make sure that we have the right size that fits you. And that's why you need an advisor for insurance. And that's the reason why it's very important for you to spend time understanding what insurance does. Don't worry about the claim. If you have taken care of your commitments, the other side will also take care of their commitments. So one of the things that always comes up is, especially if you're very well socially connected, or you have a very big social friend circle, or you have a lot of people that you network very often with, is, Sanjay, I don't like to mix business with personal relationships, or Sanjay, you're a brother for me and I don't want to be working with you because I won't be able to be honest and scold you if you do something wrong, or I won't be able to be upset with you, or Sanjay, I don't want to work with you because you won't be able to give me the advice that I would expect an independent person to be able to give me advice. What are you talking about? Let's get this acknowledged, yeah? What are you talking about? You have always been blunt, honest, and upset with me whenever you felt like. You think this is going to stop you? That's one. Second most important thing, who is there with you through tough times? A friend in need is a friend indeed, correct? I'm with you through all of that times. I'm with you when you're sick. I'm with you when you're retiring. I'm with you when you're on holiday. I'm with you through your good and bad. The best advisor you can have is someone you understand, someone you're close to, someone who knows exactly what's going on in your life. He would give you the best advice. A true friend will give you the brutal truth. Why don't you understand that? You see, when you fall sick, I know it before anybody else. If something did happen to you, your family would call who first? Me. If they are calling me first, who should be your advisor? Me. Mr. Client, you forget something very important. I am there with you through the good, the bad, and the ugly. If everything's going well, I will make sure in retirement you have the income. If everything's going well, when your kids go to college, I'll make sure that the money is there. If something did happen to you, I'd make sure that your income continues to come to your family. That's my job. That's what friends do. That's what friendship's all about. If I'm not your financial advisor, who better could be your financial advisor? Think about it. Hey guys, in today's video, I want to cover a very important question that's not just asked by financial advisors but also by clients. Sanjay, I would rather be buying property than buying a retirement plan. Now, let's get one thing very clear. When you retire, there are 6 sources of income that you would have. Number 1, you could have rental yields coming from a property. Number 2, you could be having dividends coming from stocks, coupons coming from bonds, interest coming from fixed deposits, pension coming from a social security program, and number 6 could be from a retirement plan. Now, when you have 6 sources of income, property is one of the sources of income. So let's understand this very clear. Property is a very good way or a tool to build an income stream. However, there are 3 or 4 points that I need you to consider. Number 1 is the fact that properties, you have to find the right tenant. If you don't have the right tenant, your rental yields will be wrong. You would have issues in terms of getting that rental income every month. Number 2, maintenance of the property. Every property needs to be maintained. Who's going to maintain that property? As you age, as you become older, you need a maintenance of that property. Number 3 is you got to pay your taxes. So someone's got to be continuously filing tax returns for you to make sure that your property stays, well, tax-free. Number 4 is making sure that you understand as property ages, the cost of maintenance will increase. So someone needs to be able to flip your property for you. That means you own one property. If it ages, you should be able to switch to another property. So getting in and out of properties can be difficult. However, it is a very, very good tool to have retirement income. Why is a retirement plan important? A retirement plan is your hedge. When all your other 5 asset classes, your other 5 income sources are weak, or you have a bad economic situation, because when there's a bad economy, your rental yields drop, your equity dividends drop, your bond portfolio coupons start to fall, your fixed deposit also starts to go down because interest rates start to get lowered. So if you realize all your other income streams start to dry up when there's an economic downturn, having a retirement plan that's paying you consistent, guaranteed income, your amount of income that you get is fixed. So having a good annuity retirement plan allows you to build a guaranteed flow of income. Your income in retirement should be a combination of variable and guaranteed. So build a portfolio that has a combination of both variable and guaranteed. Guaranteed makes sure that there's always some income in the pipeline. Variable makes sure that whenever there's a high inflation, your income increases. Whenever the economic downturn is bad, yes, your variable income will come down, but then so would your expenses. So keep that in mind. Having a combination of variable and guaranteed. Is property the right investment? Absolutely. But it's a part of a portfolio. It cannot be your only investment. Is retirement plan a good investment? Absolutely. But it cannot be your whole portfolio. It has to be a part of your full portfolio. If you want to have a very balanced retirement portfolio, you need to have all 6 types of income. So best of luck. A very common objection that might also pop up is, Sanjay, I would rather keep the money in my bank account and watch my bank account grow. Well, Mr. Client, I actually understand it's always nice to watch something grow, but there's a problem. You see, we have a problem which is a hidden, or what we call an invisible problem, and we call that inflation. Inflation starts to eat up your money. Anything that is kept idle and not used for a very long period of time starts to lose its strength. It's just like how you would go for jogging, for example. Let's say, for example, today you started jogging. How long do you think you can jog? Probably 5 minutes. But as you keep practicing, you can jog more and more and more. It's because your muscles are building strength. It's the same with money. If it's just kept idle and you never make it work, or what we call the velocity of money, if you don't make it rotate in the economy, we don't have water that flows. Water that stays still gets dirty. Water that gets stale attracts mosquitoes. It's the same with your bank account. Money that's just kept in a bank account, not doing anything, will get eaten up by inflation. Protect your wealth. Make it work for you. Don't just leave it idle. It's an asset. Treat it like an asset. Expect returns from it. Because if you don't, it's an asset that starts to depreciate. So I would like you to think about it. How would you want your money to work for you? That's a very important question to answer. So one of the most common objections that I get is, Sanjay, I don't need insurance. Well, Mr. Client, I understand where you're coming from. You have a lot of assets or you have a lot of other income, and which is why you might not be feeling the need for insurance. But you see, my job is to protect the guarantees of life. One of the biggest guarantees in life is we are going to pass away, and that we call death. Now, this is something that we don't like to discuss about. I mean, it's not dinner talk, right? But that's reality. You see, Mr. Client, there's only one question that you need to answer. What happens to your family when you're not there anymore? And you have to learn to keep quiet after you've asked that question. Give the person some time for perspective. Because if you think about it, you see, Mr. Client, what happens is when you're not there anymore, your family will start to consolidate all the assets, all the businesses, and try to find out what's the right way to handle things. Why don't we make that process simpler for them? Why don't we make sure that they don't have to worry about cash? You see, the most important thing in life is not assets, it's cash flow. It's making sure you have the income that the family can depend on. It's not assets. Nobody's dependent on assets. Everyone's dependent on income. My job is to make sure they have liquid income that keeps coming through. That is what is the purpose of insurance. Making sure that the family has continuous income to continue living the lifestyle that you are currently living. That's all I'm doing, is replacing your income. Your assets is your job. That's where you come in, is building your assets. My job is making sure that the income flow never stops, and I protect the guarantees of life. Another common objection that I see a lot of advisors getting who have been around for a long time, but they're new in this business. So a lot of clients would say, but you're so new in this business, are you the right financial advisor for me? Well, Mr. Client, let me clarify a few things. One, I understand your concern that, yes, I'm new to this business. But you see, I have a lot of life experience. I've been in other businesses before. I understand how other businesses function as well. My job is still the same. Let's say, for example, you're an IT professional. You see, if you have a computer, you have an antivirus inside that. Am I correct? What's the purpose of that antivirus? To protect the assets inside the computer, which is what we call data. Mr. Client, you are the computer, you are the data for your family. My job is to be the antivirus. You see, I have a lot of life experience that allows me to become a good financial advisor, because I always put myself in your shoes before I even give you advice. Is it applicable if I was in your shoes? That's what I do. I have a lot of life experience that allows me to become a good financial advisor. Another very common objection that I get is, Sanjay, your company's plan is not as good as the other plans, or I want to compare your plan to other companies. Well, Mr. Client, I understand where you're coming from, is you want to make sure that you're buying the right product. You see, the problem is, Mr. Client, that you actually don't choose the product. When you go to a pharmacy, how many medicines do you see? There are thousands of medicines. How do you know which one to buy? You see, you never choose the medicine, you choose the doctor. The doctor will prescribe you a medication, and that medication is what you should follow. So that treatment plan is what you should follow. You should never be buying medicine, you should be choosing your doctor. If you were not buying, if you felt my plan was not as good as another company's plan, why did you not already buy from them? What are you waiting for? You see, one of the most important things that people forget is choosing the right financial advisor. Once you've chosen the advisor, you just follow the pattern and follow the guidelines that they provide you. It's as simple as that. It's not about the product, it's about the advisor. Mr. Client, you need to choose your advisor. Another very common objection that I get, and the reason why I'm laughing is because I have a lot of clients who tell me, Sanjay, this will not happen to me. Sanjay, I will not fall sick. I take care of my health. I'm a very healthy person. Well, you know, I actually understand that you're very healthy, and I understand that you really take the time to take care that your health is fine. But you see, life is very uncertain. And we've always heard this, that health is wealth. Well, if you have good health, you will make the wealth. That is not my concern. My concern is, if you don't have good health, who makes the wealth for you? You see, that's my job. It's my job to create the wealth if something did happen to you. If something, I'm the just in case, you see. My job is to be the just in case. If something did happen, do you want to be protected or not? That's the only question. I'm the seat belt in your car. You probably don't need the seatbelt. But wouldn't you rather be wearing the seatbelt? And isn't that the reason why governments around the world have made it compulsory for people to wear seatbelt? It gives you a level of protection, it gives you a level of security, it gives you a level of comfort, knowing that it's there to hold you in case you had to take a break. In case something did come in front of you, if something did stop you, it doesn't throw you out of the window. That's my job. So I pray nothing happens. But if something did, wouldn't you wish you had protection? Think about it. Another very common objection that I get is, Sanjay, I'm not married, why do I need insurance? Well, if you honestly don't have any dependents, your need for insurance is quite limited. But it's still limited to 3 major insurances. One, making sure you have income protection due to bad health, which is a product that we call critical illness. You see, you are still dependent on yourself. You have to make sure that you have an income stream that's coming to you in case you fall ill or cannot work anymore. So you need to make sure you have income protection due to bad health in case you fall sick. Very, very important. Second thing that you definitely need to make sure you have is making sure you have a health insurance plan. Because if you're in hospital, who's taking care of the bills? You see, the advantage of being single is no one's dependent on you. But the disadvantage of being single is you have no one to be dependent on either. So the question is, who takes care of your medical bills if you're in hospital? And the third most important thing is you need to make sure you're saving money for your retirement. Because as you grow older, if you choose to stay single for the rest of your life, when you do get old, you want to make sure you have enough income that keeps coming to you. Because if you don't have an income, we have a problem. You see, no honey, no money. Oh, the other way around. No money, no honey. Exactly the same concept. You see, it is not about what happens with that money, but making sure you get the attention, the requirement of society to be with you when you need them to be. And the only way to do that is making sure you have money that keep coming to you, is coming to you as an income monthly, quarterly, annually, it doesn't matter. But making sure you have that stream of income that keeps coming to you. So you don't need to buy life insurance potentially because no one's dependent on your income, but you definitely need to have income protection due to illness, critical illness as we call it. You need to make sure you have health insurance, and most importantly, you're saving money for your retirement. It's as simple as that. Another very common objection that I get is, Sanjay, let me go back and do some research, or Sanjay, let me think about it. Well, Mr. Client, why don't I do something better for you? While you're doing your research and while you're thinking about it, why don't I process your application and get you free coverage for 3 weeks? You see, even after the policy is issued, you have a free look period. That free look period allows you to cancel and get back all your money. Mr. Client, while you are thinking about it and while you're doing research, if something did happen to you, I want to make sure that you're covered. I completely understand that you want to do some research, and that's the reason why I'm buying time for you and I'm giving you free insurance coverage while you do your research. That's my job. It's my job to make sure that you're protected even while you're thinking about it. So why don't I do that for you? And for that, you can take me out for dinner. And thank you, and at least say thank you for that, because I'm giving you something for free. Think about it. It's not only about clients doing you our clients doing you a favor buying insurance. It's not really true. You're equally doing enough for them to make sure that they are protected. Why do we not get enough acknowledgement to get that done? So find acknowledgement. Find your place in a client's life. Make sure your client understands what you're doing for them. Something as simple as, I'm giving you enough time to think about it. A very common objection that I get is, Sanjay, how do I know the insurance company will pay my claim? Well, Mr. Client, let me explain something to you. I actually understand your concern, because if a claim is not paid out, what's the purpose of having that insurance? Insurance is a waste of money till you actually need it. So I understand your concern. Do you drive a car? Or have you sat in a car? You see, there is an airbag inside your car. When was the last time you tested that airbag? Well, if you want to test it, the simplest thing is go hit the wall and we'll check if the airbag works. You see, Mr. Client, insurance is just like a car airbag. When you hit the wall, the airbag protects you from getting hurt. Would you drive a car without an airbag or with an airbag? Obviously, your answer would be to drive with an airbag. But did you know there are two reasons why an airbag wouldn't function? One, you did not maintain your car on time. So every 6 months, you got to maintain your car. And if you don't maintain your car, there's a potential chance that the airbag might not be functioning. It's the same with insurance. If you don't pay your premiums on time, there's a chance that your policy will lapse. So make sure that you don't miss out on your premiums. Make sure that the commitment that you have made is fulfilled, to make sure that the commitment that will come from the other side is also fulfilled. The other reason why the airbag will not work is you did not have the right size airbag in your car. So when you're driving, there's a certain amount of distance between the steering wheel and yourself when you're driving the car. If that distance is too little or it's too far, the airbag might not work. If it's too close, it could choke you. If it's too far, the impact was quicker than the airbag could deploy. So you have to make sure you have the right size of insurance. It's the same with an airbag. If you don't have the right distance between the steering wheel and your body, the airbag will not work. It's the same with insurance. If you have too little insurance, it doesn't work. If you have too much insurance, which I've never seen happen, it might be you're overspending money, which means you will always have a budgeting problem in the future. So we need to make sure that we have the right size that fits you. And that's why you need an advisor for insurance. And that's the reason why it's very important for you to spend time understanding what insurance does. Don't worry about the claim. If you've taken care of your commitments, the other side will also take care of their commitments. So another very common objection that I get is, Sanjay, I need to ask my father, or I need to ask my parents, or I need to ask my spouse. You see, what the client is trying to tell you is they're probably not the right decision maker to make this decision. So first of all, acknowledge it. Mr. Client, I understand, or Miss Client, I understand where you're coming from. You probably want to get your family or your friends involved in this decision. So why don't we do one thing? Instead of you trying to handle all the questions that they would ask, because they would ask questions for sure, why don't I come along with you in that meeting? Organize a meeting where you and I could be working together, and I could explain to them exactly what I explained to you. But if they have any other questions that are slightly different from yours or different from yours, I'm there to handle it. You see, I don't want you to look that you didn't do your research before you discuss this with them. That's my job. You would have questions that I need to answer. There could be technical questions, there could be regular questions. It doesn't matter what type of question is there. It's just that you probably want me in that meeting. The most important thing is getting across the reason why we did this. You see, Mr. Client, the reason why I'm doing this for you is I was working with a client previously, and the son was trying to get his father to buy protection as keyman insurance. And one of the things that came up was, Sanjay, I might not be able to explain that to my father the way you explained it to me. So would you mind joining me in that meeting? And that was the reason why I actually joined the meeting, and I realized he's correct. A lot of questions that his father asked me were very different from the question that he asked me. And me being there allowed him to make sure that they both understood and they did not have any misconceptions, or there was no miscommunication of information. So being in that meeting allows me to be more powerful, allows you to be more powerful. So that's how you would handle something like that. Hey guys, I've been receiving a lot of objections that have been coming through by messages. Now, one of the most interesting ones that I received is, Sanjay, I have a client who said, what if education is free in the future? Why do I need to do education planning? You see, what would you say to the client at that point? First of all, you got to acknowledge the fact that you understand that. Mr. Client, you know what? I actually agree with you. I believe education in the future will be free. What if we are wrong? Do the children still not need to go to college? You see, why don't we do this? Let's start saving some money on the side, making sure that the money is shifting from one pocket to the other pocket, and that money is kept on the side. When your children are ready to go to college, if education is free, the money is still yours. If education is not free, aren't you glad we've got the money saved up? Something as simple as that can help you handle this objection, because if you're not able to handle this objection, you will lose out. You see, clients do want you to not be able to get to that next level. They want to make sure that they are able to get away from something as simple as, you know what, I believe education is going to be free. I agree. It might be free, but we don't know what the future looks like. It might just become significantly more expensive, the way it's been happening for the last 30 years. You see, when we try to rebuttal with the client and we're having a confront, we're ending up having conflicts that we cannot solve. So instead of conflicting with the client, learn to agree with the client. It will help you get to the next level, because it will also make the client understand that you're understanding from their perspective. You need to understand your client's perspective. They are not wrong. They're absolutely correct on this one. Education might be free, but what if we all are wrong? Don't the kids still need to go to college? You see, we don't want families to be burdened with this pressure. And if this pressure is not released, we are in trouble. You are the only ones who can get that done. Another very common objection that I get is, Sanjay, I would rather be working with someone who is family, or I'd rather be working with my uncle, or I'd rather be working with my brother, or I'd rather be working with a friend on my personal finances. Well, first of all, you got to acknowledge that, right? So, Mr. Client, I understand where you're coming from, or Miss Client, I understand where you're coming from. You would rather be working with someone that you are closer to. However, let me tell you something that's very important for you to understand. If a father is a doctor, and even if he might be the best doctor or the best cardiologist or the best neurologist or the best doctor in the world, he is not allowed to treat his own son. And the reason for that is they are emotionally attached to that situation. You see, they will not be able to guide you logically, and they would emotionally get attached to giving you this, making decisions that might not be the right decision for you. You should always work with someone who is outside your family, outside your decisions, for a very simple reason. They are outside the emotional burden of having to handle stressful situations, like, for example, falling sick, having been passed away. Those are areas where you get emotionally drained, and a financial advisor should be independent of that emotional baggage. That's the reason why you should work with someone who is not related to you. Because when a person is related to you, they will be giving you advice on an emotional level rather than a logical level. So if you think about it, who would you have taken care of you? Someone who is independent, logical, and can make the tough calls, or someone who at that point of time gives in to being soft and giving you exactly what you look for? You see, you might be hearing exactly what you want to hear rather than what you should hear. My job is to make sure you hear what you're supposed to hear, what you're supposed to do, rather than, oh, you're right, you can take a break. Oh, you're right, I know your family is going through this. None of that. You got to be very strict and disciplined when it comes to your own money matters. If you're not, we have a problem. A very common objection would be, Sanjay, I don't like to take long-term commitments. I'm sure you've heard that, right? Well, Mr. Client, I understand where you're coming from, that you don't want to be committed for something that you're not sure where you will be. Yes, Sanjay, I that's exactly what I'm trying to say. I don't know where I will be 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. Well, Mr. Client, let me tell you something that's very important. Your commitment to your family is forever. Your commitment to your parents, to your children, to your wife, to your spouse is forever. How long should you be committed to them when it comes from a financial perspective? The answer is also forever. Why are you scared of making a long-term commitment? We all don't know where we will be 20 years from now. And that's the reason why we have financial reviews every year. That's the reason why you and I got to work together to make sure that those commitments that you made can still be met. If there is a change that's required, we will make those changes. There's no harm in making a commitment to yourself. There's no harm in making a commitment to your future. There's no harm in making a commitment to the well-being of your family if you're not around. You see, that's my job. My job is to make sure that the commitments that you have made are fulfilled. All your dreams need to be protected because your dreams is the purpose of your life. That is the purpose of the life with your children, your family. Long-term commitments are important. And tell me one thing, what's the point? You have made long-term commitments in your life forever. This is not a long-term commitment to anybody else. You're making a long-term commitment to yourself. A lot of people don't realize that financial planning is a process for themselves. It is not a financial advisor's job to be a long-term commitment. Financial planning is a process, and every year, all those long-term commitments that you've made, we will review those long-term commitments and make sure they are welcome and relatable to you.
Some clients will be very aggressive in telling you what you're telling them is wrong, or their opinions would be having a lot more stronger. Now, this is not an objection, but I've heard this many times from a lot of financial advisors around the world, which is, Sanjay, my clients have told me your product is just too complicated. Guys, if your client is telling you your product is too complicated, it only means that your presentation wasn't clear enough. So the simplest way to handle that is redo your presentation. Start at the top. It's as simple as that. When a client tells you, I don't understand it, it only means you gotta restart. Our product is probably the easiest product to understand. Life insurance, for example, is a very simple product. You die, I pay. That's it. It is as simple as that. The only problem is we make it sound complicated. A retirement plan is very simple. You turn 65, we start paying your retirement benefits. It's simple if you make it simple. We have to make sure that our clients understand the simplicity of how easy our products actually are. And that is all based on the type of presentation that you do. So if I could give you one recommendation is, if your client clearly tells you, hey, your products are too complex to understand, learn to simplify it. Because if you think about it, any contract in the world is very difficult to understand. However, the person explaining the contract should make it simple for your clients, and that's our job. So just find more time to spend on your presentation skills. Find more time to make your difficult things at least understandable. That's our job. So could you please spend more time on your presentation? That would really help you on that one. When we talk about preparing yourself for objection handling, make sure you work it with a logical step. So, logical questions are a very important part of the process of universal objection circle. If you don't ask a logical question, you ask an illogical question, you actually are handling the objection incorrectly. So one of the biggest mistakes is asking illogical questions. For example, asking a question, do you love your children? That's quite an illogical question. That's not the way you handle an objection. Don't ask questions that are illogical. It is given that every child is loved by their parents. It's a given. But finding the right questions allows you to move to the right step. For example, when a client says, one of the biggest objections that recently I've been getting quite a bit of is, Sanjay, I believe in the future education will be free. Now, one of the easiest way to handle that is, instead of combating them, so going against them by saying, Sanjay, no, I believe the education cost is going to increase. History has proven the cost of education is going up. Inflation is going to increase the cost of education. Instead of going against them, acknowledge it first. Well, I actually agree with you. I agree that the cost of education, I believe, should become free in the future. But let me ask you a question. What if both of us are wrong? Don't you think the kids should still go to college? You see, Mr. Client, if education is free, all the money you have saved is still your money. If education is not free, at least we are glad that we've got the money kept on the side. So, where's the problem? Handling an objection without actually refuting them allows you to build a process. So be prepared by asking the right logical questions. Don't be illogical. Don't you think your kids should go to college? Yeah, they should, but education is free. No, history shows education is expensive. It's going to become more and more expensive. That's what I meant by being illogical. Don't fight against a logical objection. Agree with the logical objection and give the alternative. That's what I meant by being prepared for asking the right logical questions. One of the biggest mistakes that we make when we're handling objections is we try to fake it. Don't fake it. Guys, do not lie if you're not sure. If you don't know something, accept the fact that you don't know it. Go learn it and come back. It is better to be honest about something you don't know than to lie about something you feel you know and get into trouble later. That's one of the reasons why a lot of financial advisors have lost repute. They have lost repute because they always try to fake it. Do not fake it. Keep it very honest. Be genuine. If you know something, get it sorted out. If you don't know something, spend time by yourself. Learn it. If you have to self-learn, self-learn. If you need training from someone, go get the training. But don't lie. Be honest with your clients. One of the biggest mistakes that we make in objection handling is when an objection comes up, we try to fake it. And that makes it horrible for not just you, but for our entire profession. So don't mess it up for our profession. Be honest. My children are useless. They will waste the money. Can you imagine that as an objection? You see, that's another objection that comes up. But if you use the universal objection circle, you would know exactly how to handle this. First of all, you got to acknowledge it. Mr. or Miss Client, wow, it's rare to hear parents say that their children are useless. However, can you imagine your children not having any support from you if they're already so useless? You see, one of the most important things that comes up is if you do not trust the capabilities of your child, building a reserve system for them is even more important. Make sure they have reserves kept because that's probably the only plan B they will have. They already are useless. The money, when they spend it, they might learn something. They might be able to use that money for something even better. You never know how a leaf turns as they grow older. But you got to make sure that they have reserves. Given the fact that you already don't trust their capabilities, you got to build a bigger reserve for them because if something happened to you, who do they fall back on? Can you think about it? You are not even sure whether they're going to do something good. Make sure at least they don't struggle through their lives. At the end of the day, they are still your children. So whatever I'm suggesting you is to make sure your children are always protected, whether they are useless or useful. We never know how the tree will turn.
So another very common objection that I get, and you will laugh when you hear this, is, Sanjay, insurance is not for rich people. Really? Mr. Client, I understand where you're coming from, but let me give you something that is quite unknown to a lot of the world. Insurance was actually made by the rich for the rich. You see, rich families were scared of losing wealth because of catastrophes like earthquakes, like hurricanes, like piracy in the olden days. And these products were primarily built by the rich for the rich. Think about it. You have a bicycle and you have a car. Which one do you insure? The answer is obviously the car, because the car is of higher value. Insurance is not for you if you have nothing to lose. If you have nothing to lose, I have nothing to insure. But if you have anything to lose, it has to be insured. If you had $100 million building, wouldn't you insure it? If you had $100 million warehouse, wouldn't you be insuring it? Mr. Client, you are the person who created all these assets. How can you not be insured? How? I mean, seriously, think about it. You're the one who created all this wealth. If you're the goose that's laying the golden eggs, what would you insure, the eggs or the goose? Who is more important? As of today, you have insured the eggs, you forgot the goose. People forget who they are. People forget what they do. Another very common way of handling this objection would be, Mr. Client, you are what we call the Titanic, the unsinkable ship. Nothing should be able to go wrong with you. However, if the ship did sink, would you like some lifeboats? You see, I'm not here to teach you how to make money. That's not my job. You do that better than I do. My job is being a good lifeboat. So I'm a tiny piece in your big puzzle. The lifeboat that protects the families that are on the board of that ship. You see, it's not about your family only. There are a few thousand families or a few hundred families that are supported by your business. If something did happen to you or something did happen to your business, there are a lot of families that lose jobs. There are a lot of families that go through hell just because of a decision that wasn't made by you. So you should think about it. Insurance was made for the rich, by the rich. Insurance is for the rich. So another very common objection I get is, Sanjay, I'm not retiring tomorrow, or it's not going to happen tomorrow. Well, if you think about it, let's say you do have children, right? At the age of 18, you would expect them to go to university. So you have 18 years to plan for it. So you have two options. One, either you don't plan at all, and on the 18th birthday you're given a big surprise with a big fat check or a bill, I would say, not a check, but a bill that you have to pay off. Or would you rather save a little money all the way for 18 years and make sure you have a big lump sum that you could fall back on when your kid does go to college? It's the same with retirement. I know that I would like to retire at the age of 65. Some of us are planning to even retire at the age of 55, and I've heard someone even tell me, I want to retire at the age of 35. Well, if you don't plan for it, it's not going to happen. You see, what's the meaning of retirement? Retirement means you being able to get a paycheck, you're getting income every month for the rest of your life. Now, how much of that are you already secured with? That for the rest of your life, you will keep getting an income, irrespective of where you are, in what condition you are. That needs to be planned for. It's not just going to happen overnight. I understand you might have some assets, but as you grow old, those assets also start to deteriorate. If you have properties, after 20, 30, 40 years, those properties might get run down. You might have rental income which will dry up, because if those properties are run down, rental incomes dry up. You see, all these assets that we build over a period of time can dry up. You got to make sure you have got a product or you've got a plan that would give you income for the rest of your life. And the sooner you start, the cheaper it is. The later you start, the more expensive it gets. By the way, Mr. Client, I hope you take longer to make that decision, because the longer you take, the more commission I earn. You see, your premium never goes down. Your saving requirements never go down. They only increase with time. So the longer you take, the more money I make. You make a decision on when you want to do this. Think about it.
Another common objection that I've heard from financial advisors is, Sanjay, clients tell me that the return on my products is not attractive. Guys, let's just follow the UOC, right? You first got to acknowledge it, that Mr. Client, I understand that you're comparing returns. But you're comparing the returns to what? Are you comparing it to a different asset? Then there's a problem, because you see, every asset class has their own return and risk standard. Property cannot be compared to a business cannot be compared to a fixed deposit cannot be compared to commodities or gold and commodities cannot be compared to cash deposits, right? You cannot compare them to each other because each one of these assets has their own uniqueness. They would either be providing you certain level of security or they would be providing you certain level of income streams, and that's the same thing with an insurance product. An insurance product has a different purpose, and the purpose is to provide you security and create money that actually doesn't exist yet, because it's always an income protection tool. We're always protecting income using insurance, and that's what we need to understand, is giving that example. So Mr. Client, what I'm doing for you is protecting your income, and that's what life insurance does. If the product is a retirement planning product, then it's exactly the other side, where Mr. Client, you want to build an income stream that comes to you when you retire. So it's about making sure that the product is understandable to your client, make it relatable to them. It's very important that make it relatable to them. You cannot compare one asset to another asset. They all have their own pros and cons. Properties, investments, bonds, commodities, fixed deposits, businesses. These are all different types of assets, and all these assets have different risk and return profiles. If you can get that clarified in your solution and example section, you've got it all cleared. So it's attractive compared to what? And that's what you have to answer. Now, I hope you understand how to apply the universal objection circle. I want you to spend time practicing it. Remember, practice makes perfect. Once you understand the concept behind the universal objection circle, you will be able to handle any objections that you come across. If you are wondering, is there any objection handling script? Well, I have some good news for you. I've actually documented all 37 types of common objection faced by financial advisors in my bestseller book, The Objection Playbook. I even include the step-by-step script on how you deal with them. In this book, you will also understand the difference between cold leads, warm leads, and hot leads. Understand the process of how a lead becomes your client. Learn about the 18 financial tips that you can value add to your clients. And lastly, you will even learn retirement strategies and its technical aspects. This book is specially written for my mentoring family. Having been in this industry for 16 years, I have a unique view on what works and what doesn't in the financial planning world. And I hope that I can document down everything I know so members in the mentoring family can leverage on my knowledge and shortcut their path to success. If you are interested to find out more about this book, you can click on the link below.